Welcome to Where Entrepreneurs Thrive. I'm your host, Russ Nolting, and this is the podcast where we explore stories, strategies, and secrets of entrepreneurs who are shaping the real estate industry and beyond. Each episode, we sit down with leaders and innovators and dive into their journeys, uncover what fuels their success, and discover how they've turned challenges into opportunities. Today, I'm in the studio with Allie vanWestenberg from vanWestenberg Partners. Allie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, I'm thrilled that you're here as well. Yeah, I always love hearing where people's journeys start. What first drew you into real estate?
You know, believe it or not, I got my license in 1983. I was in my 20s and I had two children. I wasn't working, and I was busy in a lot of things. I was always learning based, and so I got a real estate license. And this is before they even had records. Yeah. And so my records technically show that I was licensed in 1992. But the reason that I went into real estate full time is at a stage of my life, I found that I was a single parent with two children and no income, and I had a real estate license.
Yeah.
And I'd been that professional volunteer. So I'd been working with big committees and asking for people to do things for free. Mm-hmm. And I thought, how?
Awesome. We cut out for just a second there, so I missed that last piece. You were working for committees like around the school and things like that?
No, actually bigger. I was Legal and Voters. I was legislator for my political party. I was steering committee for the airport before it was built.
Oh, wow.
I'm a pianist. I put together performance groups and I performed for events and stuff like that. So I did a lot of stuff as a young woman, but never got paid for it.
Right, I get it. So you got the license in '83. And did you jump right in with 2 feet ready to go?
No. Back then I had my HUD key in the Rocky Mountain News. I don't know if anybody remembers those days. And I would do a couple of open houses in my neighborhood with my HUD key. And I just sold a few houses just to have fun money back then. And then, of course, in '92, I had to actually get serious about it.
Got it. And is that tied to the record keeping that you mentioned a minute ago?
Yeah.
Awesome. So at what specific moment did you realize that you were on the right path, that real estate was the right choice for you?
I think initially it was just a vehicle. It was just a vehicle to earn income. Mm-hmm. And I learned very early that I was not one to invent stuff. I was one to copy. And I got a coach immediately within the first 6 months. And that was way back before people even talked about coaching, but it was another coaching company other than MAPS. However, I realized that I needed somebody to tell me what to do because I was in an industry where there was really no training.
Right.
And I wanted to fast track. And so I started coaching a long time ago.
Yeah.
And they taught you to lead generate.
Yeah, that's interesting. What can you share who you were coaching with? What company?
I was coaching with Mike Ferry.
Mike Ferry, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. I assume, so was this back was this in the '90s or in the '80s when you started with Mike?
No, in the '90s. I didn't really sell full time until '92.
Got it. Right.
And '92, and then I found a friend of mine who was in real estate introduced me to Mike Ferry in '93.
Yeah.
I went to their action workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of like Bold for us.
Right.
Once a week, he'd come in and we'd all, do our lead. He'd tell us what to do, or we would role play our conversations, and then we would go out and I picked up the phone book. I lived in Morrison, Colorado, mm-hmm. So I picked up the phone book and just dialed in the phone book.
Yeah. Mike Ferry so I coached when I first got in real estate, just like you. When I first got in residential real estate, I hired a coach. And it was for me Buffini.
Yeah.
And I did that for a few years, and then I looked around the room, and I thought, gosh, these people kind of all look like me. They're selling like me. They're making the same amount of money as me. I got to find a bigger room. And that bigger room for me was Mike Ferry.
Yeah,
And I remember
that
going
was great.
to, what were his big like conferences called?
Superstar Retreat.
Superstar Retreat, I think.
Yeah, Superstar Retreat was the big one, and then he started doing, group coaching and stuff like that, and which I enjoyed. I've had a coach every year since 2000, since 1993. And now I have two coaches. So whatever I'm working on, I get a coach to walk me through that and keep me accountable to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was big. And then we did productivity school, and they did
Yeah.
Leach. Yeah, he did all kinds of stuff.
So impactful for me. I went out to San Diego. This was in January of 2010. And I think it was called I think it was the Superstar Retreat. It was at the Grand Hyatt, I think, in San Diego. And one of his top clients, Chris Heller, was on stage, and
Right.
Chris did his listing presentation. And I looked around that room. I was an independent, and I looked around that room, and everybody was working for Prudential and Coldwell Banker and Remax and Keller Williams. And I looked down at my badge, and it was like Russ Nolting Real Estate. And I said to my Mike Ferry coach, Debbie DeGroat, who you probably know.
I do know Debbie.
And I called Debbie afterward, and I said, Debbie, why are these people paying a broker? Like, why aren't they smart like me and keep all their money? And she schooled me on the error of my ways. And then what's really funny is I was at family reunion a month later as a brand new KW agent, and I bumped into Chris Heller, and I said, "You did your listing presentation a month ago at the Mike Ferry thing." And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "That was really good. Is that how you actually do it in person?" He said, "Not really."
No. And then Monica and Aaron took over his business. They did it. Yeah. That's fun. Yeah, those were the good old days. Yeah, knew all the kids.
Yeah.
I knew Tom, Matt, Michelle, Patrick, all of them. Right.
Well, in a certain way, I credit Mike Ferry with me getting to Keller Williams, even though he never said get to Keller Williams. But it was that experience of being with top producers who weren't trying to build a brokerage and build a team. They picked one or the other. Now, my journey's kind of been different because I got into leadership at KW, but that was a defining moment for me. So,
yeah.
Allie, I wonder who or what has made the biggest impact on your career so far?
It's interesting because I can't say just one thing. I mean, I'm at a gender where I've had many different stages in my career, and in each stage there's somebody that I can attribute it to. And so it's not just one person, it's a multitude of people, and it's always about a direction that I'm focusing my learning. So right now it's, I'm focusing on investment. So I'm reading every single book that I can find about, investing, not just real estate. I'm talking about everything else. And, so I get like a leader, and then it's like a spider. Then they introduce you to all these different things. So I think really, to be honest, and I'd have to say this, it was initially Mike Ferry, because that program, it put me on track. And then of course, Tony DeCello, I'm in Denver.
Right.
So, and Diana and I knew Diana, I knew Tony, we were friends here in Denver. And Tony was my coach for quite a period of time. And so the natural segue for me was Keller Williams, because they had the same kind of coaching, the same kind of support. They supported the lead gen model. Not all real estate companies do. It was an uphill battle.
Yeah.
So everybody's played a role at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you think about your business over a long period of time, what have been some of the biggest hurdles that you've faced in building the business, and what did you do to overcome those hurdles?
Good question. I think the biggest hurdle was just the management of it all. It was, I was running a 6-level team before I even knew what a 6-level team was.
Yeah.
You look back on your career, and at one point I was doing a lot of new construction condominium buildings in downtown Denver and surrounding areas. And had 4 or 5 different sales centers.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that systems, schedule, a model, everything played a role, because the first condominium project I did, which was blind faith, believe me, 143 unit in downtown Denver, we created a complete plan from A to Z, from identifying the name of the project, the name of the models, the layouts with the architect, the finishes, and then the pre-sales and the marketing and everything. So with that, you create a system, and with that system, then you just morph it. So I learned early on that if I had a system, I had a model, and then leverage, that I could pretty much do anything. And again, that came from working with coaches. Tony was my coach Tony DeSella was my coach when I was doing all these projects, because he said, okay, well, what are you doing here? And what are you doing here? And what are we doing there? And so that walked me through that process, which then I created, which then I just customized and moved from one to the other.
So, so your business today, what does it look like? I mean, what's your team look like? And how much are you currently selling?
Yeah. I scaled back dramatically because my focus has changed.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in MAPS coaching. I'm also a MAPS coach. I've been in MAPS coaching for about going on 7 years now. Mm-hmm. So quite a while. And then I a couple of years ago branched away, and I really focused on investments, taking the investments that I have, doubling down on them. My goal in the first 5 years was to double the passive income. And we're ahead of in 2 years, we're at 40%. So we're gonna keep pushing that. And that's been, so my focus shifted, and I am a very tunnel vision person. So once it shifts, it's like, okay, everything else sort of runs itself. So the real estate team right now, this year, we're tracking for about 20 million. So not a whole lot. It's myself and one buyer's agent. And then of course I have a TC and I have an administrative person. And, and I focus a lot on more of a high end. Our average sales price this year is only about 700. So it's not that high. But I am, I know for other markets, they're probably going, whoa, but yeah. So my business it's not, the machine that I used to run, because it's not the biggest focus right now. However, I am going to be shifting back to it, because now I want to fund my investments.
Right.
Yeah. So that's sort of where we are. We're like, okay, well, we're doing this, and we're doing exchanges, and we're, buying, better opportunities and doing all these kind of things. However, now it's time to keep feeding it so that we've got more to play with.
Yeah, I love that. What would you say has been your proudest moment in your career?
It's interesting you say that. When I took that first project, I mean, literally, I was walking in Steinmart during the Christmas holiday, and my phone rang, and it was a developer out of Chicago that was looking for somebody to sell a condominium building in downtown Denver. That's where it started. I'd sold a condo, of course, but I had never sold, from start to finish. And I've always been a super big thinker. Now, the lesson though, after we had launched the project, we were 80% sold. We pre-sold 30%. We got the construction loan. We started selling the units. We were on site. We were doing all these great things. And then the market started to shift. This was in 2003, 2004, right?
Yeah,
things started to shift. And I was about 20% shy of closing out the project, and my listing was up. And I lost the listing. Right? that was like, ouch. So, but I stayed in touch. We had people under contract. I was still in communication with the builder and the contractor that I would meet with every single week. And in 6 months, the team that they had hired was not producing at all.
Right.
And they came back to me and said, "Would you be willing to come back again?"
Yeah.
And I absolutely said yes.
Of course.
And but it's really funny because a lot of people are going, "Well, they just, they pulled the rug out from under you. What I said, "Are you kidding? This is a business decision. This is business.
Right.
Personal feelings aren't involved in business. It's a completely different mindset. It's a completely different skill set."
Absolutely.
So
It's funny.
just the fact that I don't worry about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I think that I got licensed in 95 or 6. And those of us who went through the Great Recession, like those at least for me were times where no matter how skilled you were, no matter how much you cared about your clients, you were going to just have some losses.
Yeah.
And
they were devastating losses in some cases.
Yeah. And
not for me, for them.
Right. Yeah. And I bumped into some people. I walked into a strange situation. My wife and I walked into a church one Sunday. We're just checking out a church, and we bumped into this couple, and I looked at them and I thought, 2008. Like, I don't even remember exactly what happened, but I believe I had their short sale listed, and it was a Bank of America, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And they had a second on it. And I think we got 18 months into it, and we were under contract on that short sale. And if it's the right story, they foreclosed a week before our closing.
Oh,
Remember,
no.
like when the second would get approved, and by the time the first got approved, the second approval was no longer valid, and it kept flipped. Do you remember those deals?
Oh, yeah, especially if they're two different banks. That was fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I just looked at those people and I thought, like there were some situations back during the Great Recession where, it just wasn't going to be good no matter what. So
yeah, it was hard. It was hard. I remember because I was the expired queen. I mean, literally 1 year I closed, and this was back. I mean, nowadays it's nothing, but back then when I was just lead generating, and I had a very small team, I closed 62 transactions that were expireds.
yeah,
And I mean, that's all I ever did. Well, during that time, we had so many expireds.
yeah,
And I actually had a lady who was on my team. She was one of the agents on my team. She would grid out the expireds every day. Well, we'd take a week, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we'd grid out metropolitan Denver. And she'd identify all the expireds in that area, check to see if they were listed again or if they'd ever sold. And she would drive me as I lead generated with my little teeny computer. I would lead generate, and she drove me house to house to house to house. And she'd park, I'd run up, knock on the door, leave my card, come back, I'd start lead generate, because it was a numbers game like crazy back then.
Oh.
Like crazy. And so you had to work. I mean, there were so many people to call because so many homes were coming off the market.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for sale by owners, forget it.
And Ferry coaching was the coaching. I mean, I don't know if you were still with Ferry at the time, but like they had coaching around expireds down pat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still sometimes wake up in the middle of the night with I'm sure you know by now that your homes come up on our computer as an expired,
yeah, yes, I do know that conversation.
Yeah, that conversation, right. Allie, what officially brought you to KW?
Like I said, I knew Tony, and Joe Bogart. Those of you that are in the metropolitan area, Joe Bogart and we were Mike Berry buddies, and we would compete, a lot on expireds. And I'd get one, and I'd call him, "I'm sorry, Joe, I got that one." because I would ask who the other agents you're talking to, and he would do the same. I mean, we had this great, fun competitive thing going, and so when the market shifted, the company I was with, well, two things. Number one, I was in Cherry Creek, and so for me, and I live in the foothills. It was number one. It was a long drive. I didn't, and the team that I had at that time, where there were 3 or 4 agents at that point, I had to house them at a different location because I didn't want to pay $100 a person for parking in Cherry Creek. And so we sort of shifted this hub from one to the other. And so geographically, it was just a far drive for me. That was the key factor for me choosing the office that I'm currently in. However, I knew the market was going to shift back. And I had gone back to my skill set of lead generation because I had to. Before then, I didn't have to. And so I knew that I wanted to position myself not only physically, but also with a company that I thought that I had growth opportunity. And of course, Diana, I had many conversations with her about becoming a MAPS coach and coming to KW and all that kind of stuff. And so I thought, okay, well, here's the time. And that was in 2012. And so I shifted over in 2012 and never looked back. And I didn't realize what it had to offer, to be honest with you. I mean, literally, when I was talking to Brian Smith, who's my OP, and back then it was, who was our, Candace Ensign was our TL, our team leader. And so it was so fun to talk to them because I realized when I was having my interviews with them, there was a lot more here than I knew. I mean, there was just so much more opportunity. And so when I left the other company, and I knew I'd been there 18 years, for goodness sakes, and I knew everybody. And I talked to the president of the company. He said, "Is there any way we can keep you?" And I said, I want to have a real estate business. I don't want to sell houses the rest of my year. And I said, "So do you mind if I ask you a few questions?" And he said, "No." I said, "Can I ever own a part of this company or get profit share from ownership?" "No." "Okay. Can I ever coach or train and build a business around coaching and training with this company?" "No." "Can I ever expand my team outside the state and still keep this this was when they were just starting expansion, and keep this as a hub?" "No." I mean, every question I asked him about the opportunity here with Keller Williams, they didn't have an option. Yeah. And I said, it's a business decision. I'm not going to just sell houses the rest of my life. I want to build a real estate business, and this is the way I'm going to go do it.
Yeah. There's I think Gary in some of his books and in life says, big is not necessarily bad. And there's something wonderful when an ecosystem like ours gets to be, 150, 160,000 people. It opens up doors for people like you who want something bigger because there's just a lot of people that you can coach, as an example, or that can help you expand. I mean, it is something great in a lot of ways. A few years ago, Gary announced that our purpose would be that we are the place where entrepreneurs thrive. And you've been saying a lot of things that prove you to be an entrepreneur. For you, how does KW fuel your entrepreneurial spirit?
They have so many options. Number one, it's you. In any industry, you're going to have to be proactive. If you want to, I'm very learning based. I've always been very learning based. And if you want to do something at a high level, you seek the people that are already doing it at a high level. This organization offers that. Yeah. They have, coaching is one thing, and I love the coaching. That's where a lot of my time, energy, and efforts have shifted. Not even just with MAPS. I mean, it's just I love seeing people grow. I have people outside of this industry that just, can I sit down with you for an hour or 2 hours, and I want to talk to you about my business, and maybe you can help me. It's those kind of things. It's that, and it's that growth mindset, and then KW Wealth. That's huge. My coach is an investment coach. So I have an investment coach. There's KW Wealth, there's KW Offerings. That is a key fun tentacle, I guess you could call it, of all of the opportunities that this company has. If you want to, there are young professionals. There are, you can learn to teach children through Quantum Leap. There are so many things. You can do a KWRI. You can become an instructor and travel all over the world and create referral opportunities for yourself as you teach other people the systems and models around Keller Williams. There's so many. It's not just one thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Your coaching business, which you said is now a big focus for you. What do you like about coaching?
The people.
Mm-hmm.
I like the energy. I like the information that you get on the information from my clients, the information from my cadre group, because I'm considered a cadre coach, the information you get from the leadership at MAPS. It is mind-boggling what opportunities there are out there for you. And so really it's a little selfish right now because I'm not coaching a lot of people anymore. I dedicate 2 mornings a week to coaching. Mm-hmm. And then I'm very time blocked. Like you, I was talking when you were here speaking at our market center the other day. We talked about early risers, and I have always been, so my alarm 3:50 a.m., gym at 5, but that's 3 days a week, and then Saturday. And I can get more done in that first 3 hours of the day than I can the majority of the day, because once 8 o'clock rolls around or 9 o'clock rolls around, it's reaction.
Yeah.
It's reaction. You can't focus. There are so many distractions. Yes, you can time block. However, it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to stay on task when emergencies are blowing up.
Absolutely.
And so it's critical that you have that time that's dedicated.
Yeah. I find that I get to about 9 a.m. and in a certain way, my day's kind of like done, because I've done all of my I've done all my personal stuff that matters to me. And actually, like I find that like 7 to 9 a.m. is a really good creative time for me. Like, so I write stuff and put classes together, and I get a lot of creative stuff, and yeah, then my phone rings at about 9 a.m. and it's off to the races. So yeah, it's a little crazy.
Yeah. So you sort of have to set that time aside.
Yeah.
And treat this really is a job. Yeah, it's, we want to call that we're entrepreneurs and all that kind of stuff, but if you don't treat it like a job, you're not going to get paid well. Period.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Allie, when you think about yourself as an agent specifically, what's your secret sauce? What do you do better than most in the industry?
I listen and I ask a lot of questions. I had a coach one time that challenged me for weeks. We did this to ask questions with every conversation I had. And after a while, it becomes easier and easier and easier. And I have just discovered, as I've gotten more sophisticated in my career, that I am very curious about the whole story. Where was I? I was somewhere the other day, and somebody said, if you ask 100 questions, you only have to show 3 houses. If you only ask 3 questions, you have to show 100 homes.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing holds true for listings.
Yeah.
How do you get down to the root reason why they're making that move, and whether or not it's a choice that they should do or not? I'm not going to convince somebody to sell their house if I don't think it's a good choice for them. Yeah. And I think that integrity also plays a role in the work that I do. And I want it to be a win-win or no deal, right? That's how it works. And I want to make sure that the decision that my clients are making are the best decision for them, based on me having all the information. So I think that's my secret sauce as far as that goes. Other than that, it's experiential. I've been doing this for a long time. I think transactionally, I'm at about 3,300 homes. Not, I mean, and when we look at some of the big teams at KW, they do that in a year, right? But
Right.
however, it's a solid foundation for having a skill set. And I've gone through language of sales, and I've gone through NLP, which is all about selling and being able to, be wrong, even though you're right, and it's okay. Right? Because that's our job. You can't have an ego in this job. You cannot have an ego. Yeah.
I was talking to my MAPS coach on Monday or Tuesday, Abe Shreve, and Abe, I'm sure.
Yep.
And we were talking about how the market that we're going into, the market that we're in, that we've been in for about 18 months, that we are still in, is really a skill-based market. And a lot of people, in fact, as I record this podcast, I talk to a lot of people who are very successful sales agents and team leads in Colorado who got in the business in 2016, 2015, 2017. And not to criticize anyone, but they haven't been in a market like you've been in, and frankly, like I've been in. And one of the stories we keep encountering is, oh yeah, real estate was going up and up and up and up, and then 2022 July, and things got funky and different. And the good piece of it is I recalibrated and figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
There's other people that didn't.
Right.
But one of the things that Abe was talking about was like what are the skills that our people need?
Mm-hmm.
And today I was sharing in my market center a Tony DeCello chart, which maybe you've seen him do before, consistently.
Oh yeah.
In setting appointments and in mastering skills. And I was saying to my market center in Breckenridge, one of those skills is buyer consultations. And in that, it's asking the right questions so that you show 3 homes instead of 30. And I mean, exactly what you just said. I literally said that at 8:15 this morning, that, that makes a huge difference. And it is so important. And a lot of agents burn out of this business because they never figure out how to ask the right questions.
Well, they don't role play.
Yeah.
I think if I counted just in my brain, $20,000 hours of role play.
Yeah.
I mean, because I did it 4 days a week for 10 years.
Yeah.
And then it was like 3 days a week and then 2 days a week. And I mean, you have to learn the skill of selling. You have to learn the questions to ask, how to respond to the concerns that they have. It's a job, and you don't take the first reflex no as a no. Right. How do you get around that? How do you I mean, it's a skill that people have to learn, and those that are not afraid, that aren't, because it's tough. I just finished reading a book. Our Brian Smith, our OP here, we have a book club each week. One of it was fanatical prospecting. And in that book, if you read that book, in there it says the last thing in the world a good salespeople wants to do is get on the phone and lead generate. Don't ever think that they like it. Right. But they know that it gets them to where they need to go, and they have to learn the skill to make sure that it's done effectively. Yeah. And that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
They're going to have to learn to do it, and they're going to have to learn to do it effectively.
And the agents that don't achieve success, they're practicing on their clients instead of practicing every day.
Right.
Yeah.
And the clients know it.
And the clients know it, exactly. For sure. Yeah, that's such good, that's such wise, that's wisdom. And And I think that the people that are persevering through this more challenging time, I mean, I think we're going to hit 3.8 million sales in 2024 when the numbers
Interesting.
come out.
Wow.
We're going to find that those people who started developing skills, started role playing, got partners, got in groups, they're going to be
Hmm.
the
Yeah,
Allie, how do
no
you
doubt.
recharge? How do you
Mhm.
what do you do outside of work that helps you? You said some of it with the morning routine, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I do have a morning routine, but I'm big on family.
Yeah.
I mean, like really big on family. So I spend a lot of time with my grandkids. They're older, but we do older things. So for example, last night I picked up my grandson. You know, he's all dressed up in a suit, and we're all dressed up, and we go downtown, and we go to Capitol Grill, and then we go over to see Funny Girl. And
Oh,
I mean,
fun.
so these are, I do these with my grandchildren, which is just so much fun because I get to spend time in the car. We're talking at dinner, I get all the scoop. It's funny because the minute I drop him off, the next day I get a phone call from my son. Okay, what'd you guys talk about? What'd he tell you? You know, right?
Yeah.
So I have three grandchildren. I have one that's 19 going here to see you. I have one that's in high school still, which is the one I took last night, and then another one that's 9 years old. And so
Are
it's,
they all boys?
no, one girl, and I only had boys, so I love it. She gets spoiled rotten, but it's family is my recharge. I do my exercise. I like being around people that have high energy. I really select the people that I spend my time with
Yeah.
carefully because I want to be with people that inspire me, people that teach me, people I can learn from. Uh, and like they say, you're the sum of the five people you hang around with, right? So, so I think it used to be when I was younger, I was very involved in sports. I played very competitive tennis. I used to actually race cars, vintage cars.
Really?
Yeah, it was fun. That was a lot of fun. Rookie of the year, which was great the first year I raced, and super competitive. I loved it. So I've done a lot of things: boating, swimming. Grew up in Florida, so swimming. I have a place in Florida, so the beach. I love the beach. So it's just those kind of things. Nothing really other than just family and
Yeah.
spending time with them. Yeah.
Did you say you have two children and three grandchildren?
Hmm.
Yeah. Both boys, your children?
My children are both boys.
Yeah. And are they in Colorado?
They are, and one of my sons is with Keller Williams, and the other one has a TC company.
Oh, I think I met your son that's with KW.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then in the three grandkids, are they siblings or cousins?
Two are siblings, one is a cousin.
Mhm. That's great.
Yeah.
It's nice to have them close by, huh?
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. When I was raising my children, I think I mentioned I'm from Orlando, Florida, and I have five brothers and sisters, and they're all still in Orlando, Florida.
Wow.
And so when I was out here, I came out here when I was 20, newlywed. That's interesting, right? Newlywed 20, and immediately we started a family, not
Yeah.
planned, of course.
Right.
And so I had to put my roots down.
Yeah.
And so I was out here without family all those years. I mean, I'd go back as often as I could. As a young woman with children, it was very difficult. Um, However, I am so blessed to have my children and my grandchildren so close because I really miss that. My family's super tight, even still, even though they're in Florida, we're super, super, super tight. Family is just what everything, I mean, it makes the world run. It's just the bottom line. That's what it is. It's love. Isn't that what
Yeah.
Gary talks about? It's a
Yeah.
truth, right?
It 100% is the truth. And I'll say one of my favorite things about KW is that Gary not only recognizes that that's truth, but he also talks about it a lot.
Does talk about it a lot.
And it does matter. I mean, when you're a company who's upfront about God, family, then business, it does change the tone a lot. My oldest, Sarah, lives in Colorado, and I live in St. Louis. And maybe a little bit like you, she graduated college, on a Saturday, got married the next Saturday, moved to Fort Collins the next Saturday, and has lived there for 3 years, 3.5 years, and is moving back to St. Louis in June.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Because she's got a almost 2-year-old, and I see her. I see my granddaughter a lot. My wife sees her a lot, but you can't.
Not the same.
The grandparents are not going to babysit on a Friday night so that you can go to the show.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's completely different.
Reason.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're going to fill your cup. I mean, having those grandbabies back, that's just what it's, once you become a grandparent, it starts all over again. Oh my gosh. Right. And it's so fun.
Really great, isn't it?
Yeah. Really, really great.
I wish when I was a parent of young children that I understood how great it was for my parents. I didn't quite get it. But it's really something else.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
yeah. So, I mean, so that's, and it's the teaching piece of it with my sons, because we're the ones that we've created this investment entity, and it took 9 months to create the entity, so that everybody is protected, and so that it was done properly with the right structure. And I mean, and all of that information I learned through contacts through Keller Williams.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Ellie, what advice would you give to someone listening to this podcast who's new in the business and doesn't have decades of experience? And what would you tell them?
About the business, about production, all the above?
All of the above.
I think if you're new to the business, create a schedule that you follow like you're working a regular job. Identify the things that you're comfortable doing, that you will create a database for you. The big thing is first build your database. Go through and identify all the people that you know now, and identify the people you want to get to know. It doesn't have to just be organic. You can have a plan and create that schedule. And then I remember somebody asked Diana Kokoska that question one time, because she was always being asked, I'm a new agent, what do I do? She said, if I were you, I would do an open house Saturday and Sunday every single weekend for a year. And during the week, you door knock, you preview the homes that are available in the area. You preview homes all over. You grid it out. You systematize the skill set of learning the market. And you go out and you do this every single day. Activity breeds activity, bottom line. And I used to say, or I still say, if you focus on an AM schedule and you do things that will create either a database or create opportunities until 12, the afternoon takes care of itself.
For sure.
So structure, schedule, and it's not going to just happen. You have to work. You can't just sit back and you're on social media all the time and it's going to happen. You still have to have a conversation at some point.
Exactly. Is there a resource like a book or a podcast or a habit that has had the biggest impact on your success?
I think the habit is my schedule. My schedule's my schedule is set in stone until 12 o'clock. Yeah. It just is every day. And that includes Saturday.
Yeah, does it?
Because, yeah. Yeah, it's set in stone. And so I think, and if you keep to that, then, like I said, things will start to happen, or you'll have opportunities, or, but then spend time with people that are doing more than you. Spend time with people that will share with you. There's so many. You go into these market centers and all you have to do is walk around and start talking to people, and they will tell you everything that you need to do. It's just a matter of execution at that point.
Yeah, there's something for a new person in this business. The culture that our co-founder Gary Keller has created of, like, we are going to share wins and we are going to pull people on stage and say, these are the steps that someone took to win. I mean, it's a great place for the new person that is willing to say, can you teach me something? When I was a team leader, I've pulled about, I've helped about 1,000 people find KW over the years. And I say the same thing to all of them. Go to the top person with your credit card, offer to buy them lunch, and spend 30 minutes with them picking their brains. They will say yes for the free lunch. And that's the way you figure out how to become successful.
Oh, absolutely. And, and take it a step further, plan the questions before you get there.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that I meet with, they say, yeah, let's go get together. Let's get lunch. And it just becomes a BS session. I'm going, okay, well, what's the purpose of this?
Yeah.
Where are we going with it? So go prepared with a plan. And then you can identify different people who do different things. I mean, we've got the Millionaire Playbook, right? So there's the Millionaire Playbook, and it's every different kind of marketing that you can think of. Pick one in each category, find somebody that does it in your area, and go pick their brain about that.
As we close out, Allie, anything else that you'd like to share? Any question that I didn't ask that you'd like to answer?
Not really. I mean, I think for anybody getting into real estate as a new career, sky's the limit. When I think back, I mean, my degree is music. I played the piano. What in the world am I going to do with that? Right. Yeah. And however, the way that I was raised in a family of 6 kids. We were regimented. Yeah. I mean, we had chores on the board, we had stuff that we had to do. We were very, very regimented. And that served me well as an adult. And I think that's what has to happen is just embrace the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And the company has so many opportunities for you. Take advantage of them, but not so much that you're learning all the time and you're not applying. So learn something, apply it, learn something, apply it, but then make the decision. But I, other than I love this company, I love the people. I love the industry. Yeah. There's so much opportunity and you just have to make the decision to go for it.
Love it. Allie, if someone wants to send business your way, how do they reach you?
Well, you can call me. I can give you my phone number is 303.
What's your phone number?
Yeah, 303-601-0260. Or you can email me at Allie, ALI, at vwp.com.
All right. Allie, thank you for being generous and sharing your thoughts and this great story of a successful career.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's been a lot of fun. I appreciate the opportunity.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.